You know who Artie Lange is?
Sounds a familiar name.
Artie Lange is a comedian.
Okay, I heard something about this, but I'm not familiar.
He had a set of tweets about an ESPN host named Kari Champion, a black woman.
Okay. You know, as someone who I feel like I have a pretty sometimes warped sense of humor, you know, when you first started saying that shit, like when you first started reading the jokes to me, like some of them almost was a little funny to me, you see?
Right.
Until he got to the part with the Jefferson and the slave and all of that type of shit. Although, like, you know, fantasizing out loud about jerking off to any woman, you know what I mean? You know, that's kind of ill, and that's the kind of fodder that these feminists will use for this harassment shit that they're talking about. Assholes like him. You see what I'm saying? Getting on Twitter talking about jerking off to this one and that one. Like, but I understand he's a comedian and he thought he was being funny. But he definitely crossed a certain line when he started going into all the slave shit. I mean, you know, it was a poor attempt to try to be funny by, you know, by a dude who didn't understand, I guess, what he was doing. Like, but see,
most people would expect Lord Jamar to really just...
Well, I'm not defending this dude because I feel like it's also just subconscious shit bubbling up, coming to the surface. You see, like, if we keep it real, how many white people in America, how many white men in America, that is their fantasy? You see? Because from having slave masters in your DNA, okay? In your motherfucking DNA. Don't think that a lot of these white dudes don't have these type of fantasies. These, especially ones with long lineages in America. You see? Because this is the country of the founding fathers. What he said, he's going to nut like a founding father, right? Well, the founding fathers was raping black women.
All day. Jefferson had slaves.
Yeah, and we know about Hemmings and all that, the Hemmings children and all of that type of shit. Yeah. I mean, did she really have a choice whether to be his girl or not? You know what I mean? They act like it was a loving relationship and all of that, but did she really have a choice in it?
No. So kind of hard to really say no to your slave master.
Right. So to me,
during that era,
it speaks to the subconscious.
You might be killed, basically.
Yeah, but, the subconscious psychological shit that exists within the DNA of the American white male, and just letting it bubble up to the surface. But does he know? Does he necessarily know that that's what it is? Did he consciously say, you know what, I'm going to let my DNA bubble out of me right now and fucking talk some racist shit? I don't think so. Just from what I'm hearing right now, I think he just started thinking he was funny and he was just going with the flow. And then, you know, we are in a very society right now where everything's politically correct, correct.
You know, I mean, like this one kind of raised the eyebrow is I attempt to whip Kari Champion because she disrespected the Jefferson plantation, but she grabs whip, beats me, I come like a fat founding father.
Right. That's crazy.
This is one of these like S&M kind of fantasies.
Exactly. But see, let's talk about S&M. You think it really means sadomasochism?
What does it mean?
Slave and master.
Oh, really?
Think about it. Why do you think the one who's getting beat usually has on like an all black type of getup?
No idea.
Because that represents the black slave.
Oh.
See, whether they
Well, but you know, but the person doing the whipping usually is wearing black as well.
Okay. Well,
to be fair,
the fact that
to be fair, both are usually
we're dealing with these colors. I don't give a fuck who's wearing it. Somebody's wearing all black, and it represents some shit. You see, psychologically in your brain, maybe you're now switching roles, and you actually getting off on the fact that the slave turned around and whipped you. People empower judges and all these type of shit. They be the ones that want to be the submissive because they've been doing so. They've had so much responsibility throughout their day that now they just want to be somebody's little bitch or somebody's fucking slave.
I heard S&M is big in D.C. in Washington D.C. You know, with all the politicians and everything.
Oh yeah. I don't. But mainly, if you think about it, it's a slave-master relationship.
Makes
sense. You know what I mean? So you can call it sadomasochism.
And you call it, you know, you refer to the woman as mistress, which is a female version of master.
Exactly. So and whips are being used.
Correct.
You see, these are all psychologically familiar things. And even the label S&M. See, to the brain, you could put sadomasochism, but the brain is putting it together with other things as well. Slave and masters. You know, whatever S&M it can come up with that it has already logged into its computer. So, yes, that's some bullshit. And I don't honestly know a lot of black people that is into some S&M shit. You understand what I'm saying? Like, usually, that's some shit white people are into.
Well, I know. Keep it real. I don't know any black men that are into it. At least not.
Right. I know women that are the dominatrix.
Correct.
The ones doing the beatings.
Correct. I've known women, you know, like I've known women who like used to be strippers or porn stars or whatever, but now they make their living by basically being mistresses. You know,
right. But guess what? They make their living. They're not really into it. Like I met them and they'd be like, yo, I be getting paid. I get this money. Like, you got to see some of the shit these motherfuckers want me to do. They want me to step on them with high heels. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? If that's what you want me to do, I'm going to do it. But it's not like they getting off on it. You know what I mean? Where you got certain motherfuckers that get off on both sides of it. From whipping a person to fucking getting whipped by a motherfucker. You know what I mean? And that's some other shit right there. See, these motherfuckers was whipping us and nothing. You understand? The men and the women, the slave masters now I'm talking about. They was whipping us and getting a sexual sensation out of it. Right. And now they're trying to bring that back by calling it sadomasochism.
At what point do you really live with yourself by really tormenting a group of human beings to such an extent? You know,
well, this is what white guilt is called. You see? Because it still exists. You feel guilty after that. Once you realize that your whole premise was some bullshit, right, and that you persecuted a whole people on the premise of some bullshit, anybody with a conscience would feel guilty about it.
Right.
And try to make amends in certain ways, if possible. Or they will sweep it under the rug and try to forget about it and act like it never happened.
I mean, my only explanation to this, and you know, when I really try to work this out in my own head, is that you have that, you know, because slavery. I remember, you know, I was in Puerto Rico this past weekend, and I met a couple of black girls from England, you know, and we started talking about your, you know, English history and so forth, and I'm like, was there ever slaves in England? And they said, we don't think so, you know. And there weren't really a lot of slaves in the North as well, historically, in the northern parts of America.
Well, there were slaves in the North.
But not to the extent of the South. Not
their whole economy in the South was reliant on that.
And this is what I'm saying. Like, you had such an unfair financial advantage by having all these people work for, you know, way underneath whatever minimum wage was at the time. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's not exactly free, because you had to take care of you had to feed them, house them, and so forth. There was a cost. It was extremely a minimal cost.
Yes,
that's what I'm
there
saying.
was a cost, but
they
weren't being paid anything.
They weren't being.
So they were working. Your labor was free. You might have had to do that, and then on top of that, pay your worker. Exactly. You see, there's places where you paying a room and board for this worker, and you paying them their salary. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
All you had to do was give this motherfucker modest quarters, some modest food.
Yeah, well, give them the shit that you're done eating with, the scraps from your dinner table. You know,
the inside of the pig,
this is how
the leftovers of the pig.
This is how soul food came into existence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I just feel like, you know, that you just got used to a certain financial lifestyle, and you just had to work it out in your own head that if you wanted to maintain this level of luxury in your life, you're just going to have to just live with what you're doing.
And that attitude has gone on to this very day. And it's not even just about black people. It's about, in order to live a certain lifestyle, human beings' lives are going to have to be sacrificed, is how they look at it. You see, like, in order for me to keep, you know, flying on these private jets and having yachts and homes here and there, and to really control, you know, be part of that 1% that controls all this wealth, I have to be willing to let people die in order for that to happen. I got to be willing to do that. Like, that's real, and that's not even an exaggeration. That's just real shit. Say you had stock in a pharmaceutical company.
Right. Which I have before.
Mm-hmm. And although that stock is making you some good money, you find out that in order to for whatever drug they made that got you that paper, you know, some people had to die in the making of that drug, or that drug is being used for some foul shit somewhere. You see?
Right.
But you're making money off of it. Do you continue to make money off of it?
Yeah, I mean, this is a choice that people make. You know, but on the flip side, with what happens in today's society with social media and so forth, if it is unearthed that a company is doing this within a company, the stock price will plummet.
Right, but why does it have to be unearthed? You know it. As a person. You see? Why does it have to be unearthed? Why do we have to see inside the elevator? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we know what happened. You know what's going on. Your conscience knows.
No.
So you see what I'm saying? In order to stay at a certain point, you have to be willing to turn maybe a blind eye to certain things, or, you know what I mean? That can result in the harm of another human being, whether it be death or otherwise, even if it gives them bad health, let's just say.